Pearl gets owned and it's great. Ethan does a good job. Thing is, I don't know anything about Pearl. All I know about Pearl is every single time I see her in my feed, it's like with the worst take imaginable. It's something about like women shouldn't be able to vote, or like some other crazy nonsense. So let's watch. I heard that Ethan and Pearl debate things like voting and if divorce should be legal, which I mean is already pretty much into the deep end. Let's check it out.
All right, so yeah, let's.
Should we Philly D this and just jump right into it?
What should we what? Yeah, you know what? Let's just jump right into it.
Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, no, let's do it. Yeah, I don't want to keep her waiting.
Okay. All right, stand by. Let her in. 1 second. All right, pin.
So she's in the lobby. We're just connecting her. Oh, there I can see her. Great.
She's in
Hi.
Zoom.
Good. VPN. Thank you.
Look.
All right. Oh, Jesus. What is that?
Thank you. What's happening?
I don't know.
A
What does
curd
it mean?
is a curd.
Fake Alec Kyle Parker gifted 5 tier 1 subscriptions.
Money.
All women are queen.
All women are queen. Everyone, every single. I agree. All women are queen. All are correct. Never wrong. All of them. Fire slay queen. Fire slay queen. Yas. Amen. Snap, snap, snap.
Oh, there was just crazy.
Thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs.
Audio.
Look, I will praise whatever demographic group you want me to, as long as you give me money. I appreciate the 5 tier 1s.
Feedback, but your camera feed looks great.
Okay, can you hear me okay now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All
now.
good.
Hold on
Okay,
one second,
good. Yeah, we fixed it. Hi, how are you?
Your feed looks good. You sound good. Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for calling in. Obviously, I saw your tweet.
Curd is a curd.
Is this a trap?
Fake Alec Kyle Parker gifted 2 tier 1 subscriptions. Queens, there I corrected it. Happy.
Well, I wasn't even mocking you for that, but I appreciate the extra 2 tier 1 subs. I am less sexist than ever. Thank you.
Thank you for.
Let's see if Pearl can change that. No, kidding.
For calling in. Obviously, I saw your tweet. Is this a trap or a good faith conversation? It's not.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which.
Well,
yeah,
I think this is a good faith conversation. I mean, what would you consider to be a trap?
Burns is an immoral, morally corrupt.
Well, I mean,
man.
the Sam Cedar thing was kind of famous, and I don't know if I would call it a trap in the traditional, like, you know, you're gonna try to with a gotcha question or something like that, because we never even got to see what a Sam Cedar Steven Crowder conversation would be like. Probably not in Steven Crowder's favor, which is why I think he's avoiding the conversation to begin with. But I guess you could somewhat categorize that as a trap. Like Steven Crowder thought he was going into one conversation, and he's gotten another. Cool your jets. Thank you so much for the primer being sub for 4 months. I appreciate that. Money indeed. Thank you.
It's kind of like when you walk into an interview and it's like they're not trying to have a conversation. They're just trying to like paint you out to be a certain way, I would say.
Sure. That would be like a bad faith when they go in there with an agenda and they're not really open to hearing your thoughts. Well, certainly I hope for it to be a challenging conversation, but I hope that you'll find it to be in good faith. I mean, you know a little bit about me, I'm assuming, so you kind of know what's my positions on a lot of things. But I do look forward to speaking with you, and I thank you, by the way, for accommodating us. I know you're in the UK, so I thank you for making the time and coming out here at a weird hour.
Yeah, no, I used to watch you like last year, actually, a good amount, like a year or two ago, maybe.
What is like as a fan or as like a hate watch?
No, I don't know if it's like awkward to talk about like Trisha, but I used to watch like the show you guys did together.
Oh
I
yeah.
really good.
No, you can. No, you can. Well, thank you. That's nice to hear. Yeah.
I know it like didn't work out, but I actually thought that was really good content.
Oh.
Like you guys did the like the bus tour. I thought that was so funny.
Oh, thank you. That's nice. We actually worked really hard on that. All these guys.
The bus tour is why frenemies fell apart. So
wait,
glad at least you enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, it was her segment. Is that what happened?
Well, I don't know if it's so long ago. It's ancient history. But I remember she was upset that it didn't go the way that she was hoping that it would.
Oh, she thought we shot it unprofessionally.
Yeah. But Pearl liked it, so there you go.
Yeah.
Pearl, yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, I guess let's just jump right into it. I want to I don't know how many of my audience, I'm sure a lot do, but I kind of want to just introduce you. You've become really successful the past year or two. Kind of, you're friends with Fresh and Fit, right? Those guys are your dogs, so to speak. And you kind of are sympathetic to their kind of views. But you've made a name for yourself just on TikTok and on YouTube. So let me just ask you generally, like, what kind of messages are you sharing on your platform? What kind of important messages is it that you find yourself are about?
I believe in family, so I think that we should have policies that push family. I think that feminism overall was a bad thing. I think that we should.
Man, what an overarching complete statement that I feel like nobody can predict. This is the problem a lot of times online with commentary, is that you open up with a gigantic statement like this, and I feel like through the progress of this conversation, a lot of this is going to be whittled down to like, well, you know, maybe women shouldn't have the right to vote. Okay, maybe they should once they've been given any pushback, that maybe that does, yeah, and it's going to get whittled down more and more and more to some much more moderate statement. Not because that's their actual position, mind you, but because they couldn't defend the more extreme position. Because this type of position is impossible to defend unless your position is quite literally batshit insane. So I guess we'll see. But when somebody opens up with something like this, when you realize feminism gave women the right to vote, feminism gave women helped women garner better control of personal property and private property, which is a bedrock of the American economy. There's so much more to feminism than just like representation in video game.
I think women are happier when we have, you know, a family and kids over a career in the long run. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
It's okay. Yeah, I understand. So it's more like, yeah, traditional. You want people to kind of follow a more traditional path in terms of family and gender and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, and you just see the negative like outcomes a society has when like families fall apart, right? And it's especially hard on the children. Like you see, the kids are more likely to go to prison. They're more likely to drop out of school. They're more likely to, be in mental health institutions. So you just see like all of the problems that come with, single mother homes. So I just think it's important that we push policies that push family.
So how do you push a policy that promotes family? Like in what way can you force a family to stay together or encourage it in a sense?
Well, I think you first have to get rid of incentives that incentivize like women to leave families. So, for example, child support, alimony, I'm not really a fan of those.
Child support.
This is the thing that's scary about this, though, and I feel like not a lot of people think this through. Is if you gut the child support system, and I'm not saying that nobody ever got like an unfair case in the child support system. That's what I'm saying. But if you gut it and you get rid of it, then the situations where divorce does happen, even if you're trying to disincentivize it, is going to be a lot worse because there's going to be a lot more unsupported children with mothers, which she's encouraging. By the way, she's encouraging mothers to basically stay out of the workforce and basically be stay-at-home moms. Then a man and a woman goes through divorce. There's no splitting of the cash. There's no child support afterwards. Nothing to support a woman. A now single mom, no work skills, no history with career, no history with work, with a child, possibly multiple children, with no money coming in from the husband unless he chooses to give said money. Now, I can understand if you're a hardcore libertarian and your value is it's not the government's position to manage these types of relationships. But her position seems to be that the government needs to incentivize these marriages to go together or force these marriages to stay together. So it seems like they're okay with, like, you know, with the government getting involved that much. So I don't think that's a really good counter. I can already feel this is not going to go well for her. Whatever is about to happen, I can already tell. I don't think she's prepped for this. Either she's super nervous or she's just not that bright. I think it's a combination of two factors. We're about to watch it though.
So if there's a divorce, let's say
actually, I think we should ban divorce too. Yeah, I think that should be banned. Yes.
Okay. Well,
I mean, this is like so simple. So if a husband's like abuses his wife or like doesn't love the wife or they don't treat each other well, this is exactly what it's going to be. What should we do? Well, I know that divorce is bad for kids. Okay. Well, what about keeping children in a household where the wife, you know, is beaten by the daddy or the daddy's beaten by the wife, or it's unloving, and the type of impressions that can have on children, which can be possibly even more dangerous. Like, it's just these like all-encompassing big statements that make a big impact at the start, but she's going to be unable to justify when it comes to any of the specifics or how this type of stuff would be managed. Because saying ban all divorce, that means once you enter a marriage contract, that's for life. There's no way to get out of it. That man, to a certain extent, will be attached to you till you die.
well, that's a little bit silly. You have to acknowledge that, right?
No.
So banning divorce means that when you decide to get married, you are not allowed by the government to leave your significant other in any situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just think that if you want to leave, you just shouldn't get married. So that's.
But you don't know everything that's going to happen once you get into a marriage. Everything's lovely and fine at the start, but maybe say your husband gets addicted to crack or something, and or your husband starts showing like truer colors, or you start getting sick of each other, it becomes a loveless marriage. Be any number of factors. Heck, I mean, even when we talk about the children component here, which I think is going to probably be the strongest way she can make her argument, is it's for the children, not for the people involved. What about a marriage where people got married, they were going to have kids, and they didn't have kids because they hated each other and it went off the rails? Should they then be forced to stay each other for children that don't even fucking exist?
Just my opinion.
Right, but like in the real world, that kind of simplistic.
And you know, there's like exceptions to this, but I would just say in general, for most cases, you know, we could talk about exceptions, but
see, there we go. Now the goalpost is already moving. It was like abortion should be banned. Well, and then it's just gonna keep. You're gonna watch it. It's gonna keep moving.
Like the rule.
Well, the
divorce.
exceptions are the important part, because I've heard you say that a lot when you're talking about things. You say, oh, you want to talk about exceptions, but the exceptions is the important part, because those are the people that are going to be affected. I mean, exceptions are going to be a large part of divorces, as you say. I mean, you're talking about like, you know, 25% maybe or more. Because if you're saying you're not allowed to get divorced, so we're talking about like, what if the relationship is physically abusive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if it's physically, this is the problem though. All right, if it's one-sided physically abusive, okay, fine, divorce. We can allow divorce for those exceptions, but.
Wait, one-sided? Are we saying so if the wife and the husband are beating the shit out of each other around children, like that's okay as long as the woman's getting a few in there, you know? Yas Queen Feminism, as long as you're leaving him with a few black eyes. Like, I would think both scenarios would be bad. I don't think it's good when a man ruthlessly beats the crap out of a woman ruthlessly beats the crap out of a man, or if they do it to each other. Then you're destroying each other. Then you're both going down. It doesn't cancel out. It's not like what. It's not like long division or something. This is like domestic violence.
But
okay.
Like I've even talked to people that work at like abuse centers, and they say that the majority of abuse is mutual. So it's not just one side's hitting the other. It's like mutual. So
surely that's not every time.
I think. Yeah, I know.
But it's not healthier either.
Mm-hmm. I just think that the goal should be to keep families together, and that the goal should be to work through it.
I think most people agree with that, right? Because I think we all can look at the stats and say family is important, right? Family is important. Nuclear families is important to like the health of children growing up in general. I think we can all say that. But when you say something like divorce should be illegal,
yeah,
we got to kind of suss that out, because that's a pretty extreme claim. For example, in 2014, family violence was the cause of 25% of divorces. So I don't think it's fair to characterize that as some kind of like super fringe example of why people get divorced.
Well, but you also have to look if there's incentive structures in place where there's a lot of false accusations in family court. And a lot of people don't know this, that family court is actually it's not based off of evidence. It's based off a balance of probabilities. And there are incentive programs that you get, like in the UK, you get a free lawyer if you accuse your husband of abuse. And it's less than 10% of cases are actually like followed through with the police.
Sorry, I don't want to move on quite yet. I want to stick on the topic of not allowing people to divorce. So you're saying that you do want to allow people to divorce, then you don't really believe that?
No, I would say ban divorce.
You're not banning it if you're making exceptions. Like, it's not a ban on abortion if it's like, well, actually 6 weeks is still fine. But I mean, then you want to place restrictions on abortion, right? Like if I said my position on abortion is after 3 months, you should not be able to get an abortion anymore. That's not an abortion ban. That's restrictions on abortion. Or maybe you're banning a certain type of abortion if you want to be generous about how we're using the word ban, right? But if you want to ban divorce, the image in people's head isn't, oh, you want to place restrictions upon, like, we need to, the important part would be like going through the exceptions. Like, okay, 2 people married, doesn't have any kids, should they be able to get divorced? Okay, 2 people, one's abusive towards the other, should they be able to get a divorce, either verbally or physically? Okay, they're both abusive towards both one another. Is this really more of an issue with no fault divorce or divorce as a whole? Like, this is where the specifics, where the rubber needs to meet the road.
Oh, because you just said you would allow an exception in the case of abuse.
I said one-sided abuse exception, sure.
Okay, so how do you prove the one? So then you don't believe in forced divorce, or ban divorce.
Fine.
Yeah.
Ban divorce except for one-sided abuse.
Okay,
sure.
Except for one-sided abuse. And is there going to be a system to kind of how do you prove that the woman or man?
Well,
was on the,
I think you have to press charges in criminal court, not family court.
So only if your significant other is tried criminally are you allowed to leave the relationship. Yes. Tried and found guilty criminally.
Yes. Otherwise, just stick out of, which is fine if you don't, want to be with someone forever. But I just say stay out of marriage, because when
I can tell, like, when I can't even tell how serious she is. Can I be for real? She has this like shit-eating grin on her face like 90% of the time, and I can't tell if this is like all a meme or not. I really can't. Can somebody tell me if somebody's been watching this longer than me? Like, is this all just a joke? Is it just all to get a rile out of people? Like, say things like, oh, ban abortion. I don't know, ban divorce. I don't know, ban women voting. Like, is it just, I'm just gonna like dog on women as much as possible and see how many things I can take away from them before anyone notices? Like, maybe if I say enough things, like, it'll get attention, or like I can't tell if she's serious or not, because I can see that shit-eating grin on her face, and it's the same shit-eating grin I get when I'm trying to get away with something and I'm saying something stupid. I remember when for example, when I start like simping over Hunter Biden and say things like, Hunter Biden is a financial genius. He's somebody who really knows how to get a hold of economic positions that he's not even qualified for, showing his dedication to work ethic. Strong dedication to work ethic. He's an artist, creative. He believes in the Second Amendment. He practices it himself, despite what those evil elitist cultural Marxists are going to say, trying to stop him from using a gun just because he smoked a little meth. Like people can kind of tell I'm like joking. Sometimes I'll get like a smirk on my face. She has a very similar smirk to when I start talking about that.
if you don't, want to be with someone forever, but I just say stay out of marriage,
Right, but-
because when you take marriage is supposed to be, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, and for richer or for poorer. It's not supposed to be, when I feel like leaving. And the majority of divorces nowadays, it's just, when the girl just feels like leaving.
That's not true.
So and well,
It's just not true.
I've talked to hundreds of women.
That's
on my
not.
show.
That's just
So,
that doesn't prove anything.
And even if you look at when no fault divorce.
I just want to say that I've talked to thousands of women, and therefore she's wrong. When is that supposed to? I've talked to hundreds of women. Okay, I've talked to thousands. I've talked to tens of thousands.
Was initiated in the 1970, I think it was initiated. I mean, one of the number one reasons was financial differences and irreconcilable.
And reconcile.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't talk.
So
But yeah, I just think for the people that don't believe in real marriage, because what is marriage if you can get divorced over damn near anything? It's not marriage anymore. It's something else.
Well, I think the reason for that, historically, this emphasis on staying married, right? Or even before this no-fault divorce was an option, and it was more difficult for women to get divorced, or men, the abuse of power and the risk for abuse and for people to get stuck in a horrible relationship situation, not just for them, but their kids, right? I mean, obviously having your kids watch their mother get beat up. And oftentimes it's going to bleed.
Or the kids get watching their father get beat up. Like, it goes both ways.
I acknowledge that. It goes both ways. So both people have a right to, in my opinion, get divorced, because the alternative is one of the partners being stuck and
do you think that's
potentially
the
a lethal
situation? Do you think that's the majority of cases?
A majority of cases of what? Divorce?
Of divorce.
25%. 25%.
What?
It's 25% based on statistics.
No, but that's not what's in criminal court. It's like less than 10%. It actually followed through in criminal court.
Well, regardless, 10%'s enough, don't you think?
Wait, okay, so I don't know if Pearl just had a very sheltered upbringing or not, but just because somebody has committed a crime to you does not mean that you're going to charge them, even if you know they're guilty, and you could even prove it. I've had situations where family members have been violent towards me to a point where I could very easily press charges against them. Like very violent behavior. But you want to know what it is at the end of the day? I'm like, they're family members. Maybe they were drunk. Or you're trying to make some excuse for them. And at the end of the day, are you going to be the one that comes back to your family and says, yes, I put family member so-and-so in jail? Yes. No. There's going to be a lot of social pressures from within your friend group, within your family dynamics. Just like maybe you even personally still love the person, even if they're abusive towards you. This is going to stop you from pushing it through the criminal court system, right? And so it's already if it's already a hard enough decision for somebody to leave a relationship because it's abusive for them, and they finally accept that they are being abused, it's going to be even harder to convince them that they should bring it through criminal court and see if they can put the guy behind bars.
No, I said less than 10% of the abuse cases of the 25%. So that's
Journal of Family Violence in 2014 found that approximately 25% of divorces in the United States involve domestic violence.
Right. But again, that's because the woman says that she was, because they're incentive.
Okay, but you're just saying stuff. You're just saying stuff. You don't actually know that to be true.
No, I do.
How?
I do. Okay, in the UK, there's a law that you get a free lawyer if
Sorry, but how does that prove that women are lying about violence?
Because I'm saying that you can't. Okay, you can't prove it unless they go to criminal court, because criminal court is based off of evidence, where family court is based off of a balance of probability. So it means it's more likely that they did it than didn't do it. It's not innocent until proven guilty.
Right, but they're not going to jail. It's just to let the abused
I mean, you could
partner.
call it jail when you have a lifetime of not seeing your children. When the
You
whole
could, but it's not.
community. I mean, you could. I mean, have you spoken to these men? It's literally.
By the way, just because you get divorced with somebody doesn't mean you're going to have a lifetime of not seeing your child.
Their whole community thinks they're an abuser. Now they get to see their kids maybe 3 days a month if they're lucky. A lot of them are put on.
Sure,
a lot of them
course.
are put on.
Yeah,
Right.
there's bad outcomes for sure. But
Horrible.
on the whole,
a lot of men zero themselves out during this.
they what?
Like a lot of men commit suicide
Oh, I
during.
see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible. You know,
It's horrible. It's like absolutely terrible. Like I interview these men that are going through this.
yeah, I'm sure
'cause
that's happened. But at the same time, you're saying women are lying about violence, and I haven't seen you be able to
okay.
prove that.
I'm saying that you can't prove it unless you go to criminal court because family
Right, but
court
it's not
is
a crime.
based off of evidence.
Right, but they're not going to jail. It's just about the welfare of the kids, and you know, I mean, the people
It's
involved.
a crime if you're falsely accusing someone of abuse.
Also, that's another dynamic. You're not, in this instance, it's not just like arresting a family member. You're also trying to arrest your child's father, right? And what you're then talking about is not only divorce, but also getting rid of your child's father figure, right? At a time of great instability. Like, there's so much. It feels like she hasn't thought this through at all.
And so I'm saying there's no, you can't, they only prove it in less than 10% of cases.
Okay,
In criminal court, because criminal court is based off of evidence, family court is not.
so let's just say less than 10%. I'll just give you the benefit of the doubt on that. Still seems like enough to give people the option to leave. And this idea that women just leave whenever they want seems a little bit infantile, since because people change, right? Especially when people get married young, which does happen. People change, people go through shit, people grow apart. A lot of the men who end up being abusive, you hear, were one way before they got married and one way after you get married. So I don't think it's fair to say you're just leaving whenever you want, or you should just have to stay in this forever. Wouldn't you prefer people get married than never get married? Like, I feel like you would be disturbed if, like, only 5% of couples ever got married.
I'd rather people got married and stayed married.
Right, but that wasn't one of the options.
Yeah, well, this is the problem. If people know that if you get married, you can't leave, like it's impossible, what you're going to do is plummet marriage rates. All it's going to be is like, oh, marriage is that like death cult thing where you're like, no matter what, you sign up to this woman and you're hitched to her. She becomes a psychotic weirdo who hates you and possibly even abuses you. Like, you just got to kind of put up with it. You just got to go suffer through it. I think that's not going to be a great advertisement for marriage or the traditional family structure.
I actually don't see a point in getting married with the way that marriage is today, to be honest. Yeah, because again, like, what is it? The average marriage is like 8 years. So the average marriage is 8 years and you're done. That's not marriage.
Leaving a marriage due to domestic violence and not pursuing criminal charges. Let's say that a woman's in a marriage and they have no fault marriage divorce. So let's say she doesn't want to charge her husband. She just wants to leave amicably, okay? But in your situation, she's forced to charge him legally, to have a police investigation, charge him for domestic violence. Wouldn't that be more damaging to his reputation?
Not if he beat the case, because again, it's based off of evidence. But I mean, I think that why would you want an abusive guy walking free? If he's actually abusive, he should go to jail. Shouldn't we agree on that?
Right, but it's just not that simple, again, because like it's just not that simple, abuse cases, because, you know, and it's not that simple to.
That looked weak. That looked weak. The argument's simple, I think. When you're talking about domestic abuse cases, you're in many cases talking about like very complicated interfamily dynamics where you still love the person who's possibly abusing you, or if you don't love them, your family members love them. Or even if you don't love them and your family members don't love them, they're still a provider for you and your children, especially if you're promoting the family structure that Pearl is with women not working in the home. So there's a million different factors that could motivate somebody to not throw them behind bars. Here's an example of it. Let's be as good faith as possible here and say that this is not only, while this is a man who is abusive, they're also willing to split up amicably and pay for the child's education. But obviously, if the mother's going to be pressing criminal charges and trying to put him behind bars, that quote unquote generosity might dry up soon. That is a dynamic where they might still want a divorce, but not want to press criminal charges. And you could have a situation where if you've banned divorce outside of just criminal charges, you've kind of forced the woman into a limbo because they don't want to isolate the family. They don't want to get rid of financial resources for the child, definitely in this world which Pearl has designed, where child support doesn't exist. And so they're just kind of in the relationship to survive. And that doesn't sound very nice, does it? That sounds pretty bad when you're just kind of like holding a woman in a relationship to survive, when otherwise she would leave the relationship. But the same thing is vice versa, of course.
To convict people.
I just don't think that men should be punished without evidence. And I think in family court, it's not based off of evidence. It's based on a balance of probabilities. And so you have a case where men only, like, they're stuck seeing their kid like 3 days a month, when again, it's not based off of evidence. Like, you know, I've interviewed guys where literally the wife, and I've seen the court documents. It's coming out in my documentary that's coming out in the fall. But the wife was plotting to try to get the guy to hit her.
Right, I'm sure that happens, but
And the wife still got custody.
Right, but that's not a representative case. Again, I mean, for example. You ask why a mom wouldn't want to try a parent. It's more nuanced, right? I mean, you need a more developed take on that, because it's very traumatic for the kids and the family to put their father through a violence case, and especially when the kids are probably going to have to ask to testify, to talk to the police. I mean, I totally understand why a mother or father wouldn't want to put their family through that, don't you?
I mean, I can understand it. Yeah.
Sure. Sure. And I mean, according to national statistics on domestic violence, okay, there's 10 million men and women each year that are the victim of physical abuse. But in your world, I have a feeling that a lot of these people would be trapped in these marriages. And that's okay.
I said in one-sided abuse, they could leave. Yes.
Okay.
So, no. Yeah.
Okay.
I do think in order to get custody of your kids, if you're going to accuse the other side of abuse, you should have to prove it.
Do you think what do you think is more harmful to kids, divorce or physical abuse?
Physical abuse.
Okay, you passed that one. But you had to think about it for a second. But anyway, let's move on from this.
No, I just thought it was kind of a silly question. That was all. But
okay, that's refreshing. Tell me, what does red pilled mean to you? Because I've heard you use that phrase a lot. You're part of the red pilled community.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people. I will say a lot of people have their own definitions of it, so people use it for different things. But I would say it's viewing the world the way it's supposed to be, or like the way it is, not the way you're told it is. So, like, you know, for example, a lot of guys think if they treat a girl nice and give her flowers that, you know, she'll essentially sleep with him. And then a lot of guys find out that's not true. And so then they, you know, came together and, yeah, realized that. So that's just one thing.
Is that true? Do men really believe that?
But what do you mean?
That if you buy flowers and be nice, she'll sleep with you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's real. I think that's like a really odd way to describe dating. It's just like men are nice guys and women are.
I just think
it just seems very cartoonish. Like we're talking about real world stuff, and it's just you can't.
I just think men don't really. Men don't expect like women to reproduce more with felons than non-felons. Like I think that's a surprise.
Women
Dude, I have no clue what she's saying. I'm just lost. I'll just keep letting her talk.
Produce more with felons.
Violent
non-felons.
Yeah. I mean, like, think about it. Like, Ted Bundy.
Hold on. Well, yeah, what does that mean? So felons who are procreating have more kids in general than non-felons? What does that stat mean?
They have more children with felons than not.
Is this just like okay, so I don't really know what the point of this, but I would assume, and I'm just gonna take her at her word, but I would assume the idea seems to be that generally in a society, poor people tend to have more children, either due to less financial access to contraceptives, any number of factors. Oh God, I don't want to go through all the factors, but poor people tend to have more children, and if you're a felon, the odds are you're also probably of a lower socioeconomic class, and people of a lower socioeconomic class tend to have more children. I guess that's bared out statistically, maybe, but I don't think that's like oh, you're so criminal and so uneconomically reliable as a dating option. I would love to date you, currently possibly imprisoned person. I don't think that's a factor. I don't think it's a factor.
It's like, I don't remember if it's violent felons versus non-violent felons, but I just remember violent felons have more children than non-violent felons.
And so there's men who are looking at that and they're pissed.
No, not
because I've never heard that stat in my life.
No, I think just surprised.
Right, I've never heard that stat.
Okay.
Yeah, is there a source for that? It just seems kind of an odd stat. Like, what does it prove? Felons have more kids than non-felons.
Well, I think the reasoning is because women want a guy that can, like, protect her, basically.
And a violent felon is somebody who can protect you. Has anybody ever watch those mafia movies? How does the mafiosos always end up at the end? Does that seem like a guy who can even protect themselves, let alone their family? If you're going out and putting yourself and your crew and everybody around you in dangerous situations all the time, either through your own violent activity or through ordering violent activity through others, that's not a good long-term solution to financial and like success, just generally.
A felon?
Yeah.
That's a weird.
Why do you think Ted Bundy had like love letters?
Oh, well, that's a whole different weird phenomenon about women being interested. Weird niche of women involved. All serial killers.
That's surprising.
Right, it is surprising, but I don't think it's any interesting commentary on the dating scene that serial killers get love letters from freaks. You know what I mean? Richard Ramirez did too. All serial killers do.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, but the point is, it's one, like, it's not the same for women. It's just men.
So what is your point exactly? That what does that prove, that felons have more kids than non-felons?
You know, that a lot of times women pick the bad boys, you know? I mean, that's pretty much it.
Does having more kids
with, I mean, a guy that's a violent felon, you don't think? Okay.
Is there a source for that? It's just a really weird stat. I'm just trying to grapple with it.
I can get it in a second.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, we can try to look for it too. I just want to hear what's
in. I can show you where I found it.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, Casey Anthony got love letters apparently. So she was a serial killer, right? Oh, she killed her daughter.
Not serial, just a one-timer.
So Casey Anthony murdered her daughter, and she was getting love letters too. She got letters proposing marriage. Don't you find that surprising?
Yeah, that is surprising.
So in a sense,
are you telling me that all I need to do to get some Riz is go murder a bunch of people? Okay, give me a moment. I'm gonna go get a job at Raytheon. I go file. Raytheon.
It's not. It goes both ways, kind of when you look at it holistically.
Yeah. No, I think it's more so for women pick violent men more than men pick violent women.
Based on what?
I think you can just. I would just say, I would guess that it's more common with women because of that study versus like a fringe case. I would be surprised if women got the same amount of letters, but I could be
You
wrong.
might be surprised, but do you feel that sometimes you argue from emotion rather than like concrete facts? I find that when you talk about, and I've watched a lot of your videos, you say stuff that I don't think has much of a backing in reality. It's based on feelings, maybe instead of not emotions, but feelings. You
Feelings
say,
over
I
facts,
feel this to be true. Do you feel you do that a lot or no?
I try. I would say I'm a woman.
She's trying very not hard to say I don't. She's trying hard to say I don't. She's trying hard to not say I feel.
I try. I would say
You see, she stops herself there. Okay, maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
I am a woman, so sometimes, yeah.
Okay. Interesting
But-
defense.
Hold on. Do you want me to find it or no?
Sure. Yeah. I'll give you a minute. That's totally fine. Okay. So why should I engage in a conversation with you at all if women are just emotional? Shouldn't I be talking to a man about this?
Damn, that's true.
Probably.
Why do you bother?
Dude, what is this just like self-humiliation stuff? Like why does she have such a low opinion of herself, like all women? Like she just basically just said nobody should listen to her. She should go listen to a man instead. Like I can't tell when she's serious and when she's not, and I feel like when she gets cornered on her belief, she just kind of like pivots into an area where you can't really tell if she's joking or not, It's just all laughs and giggles.
You even have a platform. Shouldn't you just concede to a man?
Yeah, probably. You
Right.
know.
So we got to look for a man to replace
She's on
you.
her phone.
Don't you think?
No, not
You
not
don't,
really.
You don't think? Okay. But you do think women are more emotional.
Okay, I gotta find. Hold
Okay,
on.
go ahead. I'll give you a minute. Sorry, I won't.
Okay, sorry. I'm trying to
No, it's all
talk to
good.
you and find it at the same time.
What is she trying to find? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll give you a minute there. But it's fine too. We can move on. I'll give you a minute, but we don't have to get stuck on it.
Okay.
Ethan's nicer than me because if I want to source on something, I will get stuck on it, and I will deviate a good 5-10 minutes just to wait for you to Google.
It's fine. I mean, we can. It's fine. We can move
Damn.
on.
Damn.
Might be
No
running
source, no linkers.
I found it.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, perfect.
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
What's it called? I'll pull it up.
Here. The link, he pulls up the study in this stream, so the link is on here.
Whose stream is it?
It's Rollo's stream.
Rollo Tony
Brownstown. Yeah.
Wait, so she doesn't even have the link. She has a link to a stream that talks about the source she wants to talk about. So she never even looked at the source herself if she has to go to a stream that she like vaguely remembers it being mentioned on.
He's great, actually.
I know you're a fan. He seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he's really nice.
I like his head.
Imagine if I said like, did you know that 40% of Jews actually have stock in like the aerodynamics industry? Someone said, "Oh, really, Dylan? That sounds like a bogus statistic. Do you have a source on that?" Yeah, 1 second. Let me bring up the Fuentes stream. He mentioned it yesterday. That would indicate to me, right? Or I would assume that would indicate to most people that I didn't actually read it myself. I heard somebody else say it, and now I don't even remember like what was being talked. I didn't read it. I never looked into it, but I remember it vaguely. So I'm just gonna send you somebody else's stream where they're gonna say the same thing, also unsourced, and then you're just like you're chasing something that doesn't even exist.
I like when he rocks out.
Where do I send it to?
You can send it in the Zoom chat.
The Zoom chat, yeah.
Or you can
it's
just
on
tell
my
me the
phone.
name of it and I can pull it up.
Okay.
Either
It's in Rollo Tomasi is offensive and vile. It's like 7 months ago. But yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll look into it. So if women are so emotional, do you think it's bad faith in terms of an argument to argue from feelings and to present feelings as facts? Do you think that's a bad faith way to argue or no?
No, I was kind of kidding. I was like,
What
joking.
were you kidding about?
When I don't know, whatever you were asking me earlier, you were like, do you? I don't even remember. You said something like, "Do you think you shouldn't have a platform?" Or like,
well, right.
Yeah.
Well, I asked, and you said, "Well, I'm a woman. Of course, I'm gonna." I asked you, "Do you feel that you make arguments based on feeling?" And you said, "Yes, I do, because I'm a woman."
Oh yeah, I was kidding. No, I use facts to back up my arguments. Sometimes I'd say I'm wrong. Sometimes I think something and it's not correct, but I would say most of my opinions, I try to at least have a basis of fact. Yes.
Okay.
Some things you just see in reality, right? I mean, like
Some things you
sometimes
just
you're
see.
gonna, yeah, I mean, you can, like some things you just learn from interviewing hundreds of people, you see patterns.
Right. But sometimes when you interview people, you interviewing specific people with specific experiences, you're obviously going to run into a bias.
No, I don't think so, because we do street interviews all the time too. So that's like random people on the street.
Okay, fair enough. So so there's the red pilled, which are people who see the world for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have blue pilled people, which I'm assuming is someone like me. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But what does blue pilled mean?
People that see the world for how they'd like it to be, I guess.
Okay.
But I don't talk much about, I guess, like blue pill, but yeah.
Okay, fair enough. We don't have to focus in on that. So I've noticed that one of the primary focuses of your content is kind of the problems facing men and how there's so much unfair societal pressures or norms or expectations on men. Why is it that you're so singularly focused on the troubles of men?
Why am I focused on the troubles of men? And that's an interesting way to, I guess, phrase my content. I would say I think it's unfortunate what happens to men in divorce court. So that's probably what I talk about the most. I think that men should have access to their children.
That's not what you talk about the most. You definitely talk about stuff like pay gap myth. You talk about men want younger girls. You talk about men are just doing what's in their nature. You talk about women who have higher body count are less desirable. I'll be honest, I've watched a lot of your stuff, and the vast majority is not about divorce court. It's about this kind of like dating coach stuff.
No, I wouldn't say I'm a dating coach, but okay.
No, but that realm, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mean you're a dating coach, but like that kind of realm, it seems that you're super focused on. So what is your interest in that? Manosphere, maybe that's a better term, manosphere stuff.
What is my interest? I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, so that's what we talk about.
Okay, that's fair. So what is, you say you're anti-feminism. Feminism was basically a mistake. So what is your problem with feminism?
Dylan, did you see the Hassan debate? I don't know what Hassan debate you're talking about.
Let's start there. That's a good point. Right.
Okay, feminism. Let's see, how much longer of this is there? Oh my God, there's so much here. Women lose value with age. Pearl's weird take on slavery. Oliver Tree crashing the podcast. I saw Oliver Tree in concert. He was pretty cool. Man, we'll see how long we do this, but we're not gonna watch the whole thing. This is too big. XQC versus Pokey and Hassan on Kick. Yeah, no, I couldn't care less. Anyway, let's continue.
I think that feminism wants equality when it benefits us and not actual equality.
Feminism, and are you going back to the beginning of feminism? Like the whole history of feminism, like women's suffrage and everything?
Yeah, no, I don't.
You don't fuck with women's suffrage?
No.
You don't think women should get the right to vote?
No, I don't.
Okay, so are you serious or are you kidding?
No, I'm serious.
Okay, so that's the thing. Every single time she says something, I feel like you got to ask that question. Like, is she being for real? Is she not? She's got this like dumb shit-eating grin on her face every time she says anything, like vaguely controversial. I think she just like stirring the pot, and I think that's a big motivator for her to say the things she's saying.
So women shouldn't have the right to vote.
Yeah.
Why?
No. Because men are signed up for selective service, so they're fined $300,000 if they don't sign up for selective service when they're 18.
Okay,
Do you think women?
I'm sorry, this is fucking stupid. Wouldn't the solution be then to sign women up for selective service as well, not to exclude women from the right to vote, taking out 50% of the voting's population pool so they can't have a voice in our government, and a government founded on the principle of no taxation without representation, and you're now taking that away from 50% of the population, include many of the highest taxpayers? We're talking about having people currently, women in the military who got shot at and injured and are going to be crippled for the rest of their lives, not being able to vote because they didn't have to sign up for selective service. What kind of logic is that?
You should be drafted into the army.
I think if we want the same rights, it comes with the same responsibilities.
Do you think women should be drafted into the army?
No.
Okay, so
No,
then there's a.
Shouldn't it then be just anybody who's only served in the military should be able to vote, and we just have Starship Trooper universe led by the Douglas MacArthurs and Curtis LeMays of the future? Jesus Christ, what a hellscape. Treasure Master, thank you for the 100 bits. I appreciate it.
The paradox.
No, but that's my point. I'm saying, like, let's make it fair.
You don't believe. Well, listen, this is your perfect
So
world.
I'm saying that if we are going to vote, have the same cost, which is that men are put into selective service and women are not. And if I had to pick between the two, then I would give up the right to vote instead of sign up for selective service.
Okay, so you're saying women should only get the right to vote if they sign up for selective service, but at the same time, you're saying women should not serve in the military. So in your world, women are just going to be disenfranchised because they're not going to be able to sign. They shouldn't serve in the military because they're not as good fighters, right?
No, I'm saying for me personally, I would not want to sign up for selective service if I had to pick.
So
I would give that up.
You think women should be given the choice if they want to do selective service or not?
I think if we're going to vote, we should have no choice like the men do.
So women should be drafted mandatory into selective service, you believe?
No, that's
okay. But don't you see the law? There's an issue. There's a problem here.
I said, if feminists want the right to vote, right, then it should come with the draft. It should come. I mean, it's not called the draft anymore. It's called selective service. Personally, in Pearl's world, I do not want to be drafted. I do not want to be in selective service.
Then that's for you, but you're saying, since I personally don't want to be in selective service, this thing that hasn't been called up since Vietnam anyway, and the odds of being called up in the immediate future are quite low, but because I don't even want to be on the list that most likely won't ever be used anyway, I'm going to make it so all women don't have the right for selective service. Why are we basing this on gender, right? Couldn't we do it on any fact? Like, well, actually, I believe women should be in selective service. They should be able, but this other group I'm a part of shouldn't be able. Left-handed. Why women? Why is it specifically women? Because if the argument is just, well, they don't sign up to selective service, what is it about women that makes it so they shouldn't be able to have to be signed up for selective service? Somebody could say, well, you know, physical attributes. There's a lot of ways you can serve in the military that doesn't depend heavily upon rifle front line. The majority of people who work in the military will never be near the front line, will never be shelled, never be shot at, will never be attacked, will never be anywhere near that type of violence. Most of them will be working in logistics, driving trucks, driving, you know, cars, management, science and tech, all these different things. And women can absolutely dominate in those. And that's not even to say there aren't also women who could dominate as frontline soldiers as well, which they do exist, even if they're a fewer number than men.
I know, but I'm asking you, like, in general, in terms of policy, Because obviously, I think it's safe to say women in general want the right to vote, right? And so then, by your logic, women need to be entered into selective service, right? But you don't think that should happen, or you think that's okay?
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Not you. I mean, in general, the women, because women want to vote. So how do we resolve this issue? Do they get
It's
drafted?
a very selfish desire. We're going to take away the effectiveness of our representative government by taking away the representation of 50% of its population, because I personally don't like being put on this list that will most likely not be used anyway. Very selfish.
Drafted like men?
I mean, I think it's unlikely that women will ever have the right to vote taken away. So I guess moving forward, maybe net taxpayers potentially you could do, but that's
Sorry,
a whole,
net
that's a whole
taxpayers?
that's a whole nother conversation. But
Wait, what
no,
does that
I think
mean?
if we're gonna vote, I think that we should have the same responsibility as the men and be enlisted in selective service.
Okay.
So that's
So you're saying women should also have to sign up for selective service when they turn 18, like men.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you're gonna be equal, make it equal.
Okay.
And for me, I don't want to do that. No, thank you. Keep me out of that.
Okay. So right. I understand that's your preference, but I'm just trying to understand like the policy that in your red pill, we're doing the red pill. We're seeing the world as it is.
No, I wouldn't assign that belief to like red pill. That's not really like a red pill belief. That's just mine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make a point about. So do you think having women in the army would weaken our military?
Yes.
So then,
Let's look at the military forces on the planet. Let's look at the most powerful ones, okay? Let's say America, maybe China, maybe like Turkey, maybe if we're, maybe the United Kingdom. Like the militaries are the most effective fighting force on the planet. Israel has a very effective fighting force. Man, I think there's a bunch of countries that have effective fighting forces. How many of them ban women? Like, I'm thinking the Taliban, right? That's one I can think of off the back of my head. And the most effective military force on the planet are not going to just cut out permanently 50% of the population pool, which could serve not only in frontline duties, possibly, depending on their physical attributes, because there are women who can do that, even though they're fewer than men, of course. Statistically, it's biology. But also, why can't they fill all these other rules? Why are we saying that a woman could not be a drone operator? Are we really going to say that? Because I think a woman can press a button.
probably don't draft women into the army.
Yeah, but then take away the vote with it.
But you're not giving that. That doesn't seem very fair. You see what I'm saying? Because you say, well, you guys are weaker. You guys are going to weaken our military. So we don't want you in the military. But because you're not in the military, you don't get the right to vote. It's a catch-22. You know what I mean? So what do we do about that?
Well, I'll tell you what I think we should do.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, it goes back to, I just think that you have to have some skin in the game. And so it's like, if we're voting for a commander in chief, right, that's the person that decides if we go to war or we don't go to war. And so it's easy to, again, I think that if you're going to vote, you should have the same responsibility as the men, and women don't want to do that. It's either we're equal or we're not equal.
Okay, well, just to be
equal,
fair,
if we're really equal, have the same responsibility. But again, it's equality when it benefits us.
well, but your logic doesn't even make sense. I mean, you're talking about, first of all, there hasn't been a draft in the United States in 50 years, right? So if there was a draft, maybe we could have this conversation, but it just seems kind of silly. In 50 years, there hasn't been a mandatory draft. It just hasn't happened. So, so why is it a big deal, I guess, about the selective service? Because there's not going to be another draft. You know what I mean? There's enough people in the army. I don't think that there's going to be a draft.
They are missing quotas, but I mean, the odds of them having to go that far are unbelievably low.
It's just not going to happen. And with the way technology is going, we're going to have autonomous robot fighters before there's a draft. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So why does it matter? I just don't see the point with the selective.
That's a very silly argument, but I also believe the odds of a draft are low, even if I think Ethan's reasons for that are silly.
Service thing.
I just think it's, again, like, women want all the rights without the responsibility.
What other ones?
If you don't think that there's going to be a draft, then equally do what the men do. Men are fined $300,000.
Well, they don't have the option. They don't even have the option right now.
Right. So give them the option.
Okay,
You know, I'm just
let's give them the option.
Make it equal.
Let's.
But she
not the
said don't
option,
make
that-
it equal. She doesn't want them to vote.
It has to be mandatory
I
if
know,
we're going to
but
make
you
it.
saying like women want the right to vote, but they don't want to enter in selective service, but it's not an option. So how do you know what all women want?
I don't know what all women want.
So then why are you saying things that are generalized all women?
I'm saying, no, okay. Because I'm looking at the policies that have been pushed. And I'm saying
Why?
the policies are not, like, where are the feminists fighting for equality in this situation? Like, when
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's because, number one, it's not a particularly pressing issue, but I do know feminists that are okay with women being do exist.
again, it's not that relevant, but also the no women in the army is a kind of a byproduct of patriarchy, because women are looked as that they'd weaken the military, as you pointed out. Is that possible that it's men driving that policy and not so much women?
I didn't say women drove that policy. I said they don't try to make it equal. It's only equal when it benefits us.
Even if nobody's being actually drafted.
I mean, 50 years isn't, that long of, I mean, who's to say? You don't know, but okay.
50 years. I mean, the last mandatory draft was like during Vietnam, wasn't it?
Do you not think it should be equal? So you think that it shouldn't be?
No, I think what you're saying is fair, but it's not making any sense. Like, okay, sure, let's put women into selective service. Fine. I'm fine with that. I think it's fine.
Okay.
I think everyone should sign up for it. And there's other ways that people can support the military other than being on the front line, right? Right. So, what other rights do women want? You know what I mean? That are contradictory.
Okay, women want the right to not be a mother, but men don't have the right to not be a father.
What? Women want the right to not be a mother, but okay.
So women can have a which I know it varies state. I'm in the UK, so I forget. Sometimes the US is different by state, but
Fake Alec Kyle Parker gifted 2 tier 2 subscriptions.
Oh snap! 2 tier 2s.
Here for your suffering, Dylan. Has anybody in chat said, I can fix her?
No, and none of you can fix her. Unfixable. Don't stop. I'm refusing. I'm cock blocking. Stop and no.
Like in the UK, abortion's free up to 6 months, but a man can't opt out of child support. So it's like, why does he have the right to not be a father, but women don't? Or why do women have the right to not be mothers, but men don't have the right to not be fathers? Well,
actually, men do have the right to not be fathers. They can just not have sex. That's the first thing. Same with women, by the way. Number two, the problem is that the surgery that goes with an abortion, right, would be done on the woman's body. And so it's an issue of bodily autonomy. There is no situation where, in my opinion, a husband or a wife can force a surgery on the other, or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or anybody should be able to force surgery on the other person, unless it's something like an infectious disease that's in danger to everyone. And as much as children can suck at times, they are not an infectious disease that can be given to someone. So I think the issue is bodily autonomy, less than just like choice about having children or not. And by the way, a child can 100%, a man can 100% consult with their wife or significant partner on whether or not they think they're ready for a child. That decision might not ultimately be up to them due to the issue of bodily autonomy.
I don't think that's fair or equal.
Sorry, just to go back for a sec. So feminists actually do, they are they want the draft abolished. So their point is, let's not sign up for the service. Let's abolish the draft altogether. So they are they are fighting for equality. They are against the draft. There should be no draft. So men and women shouldn't be drafted. That is also equality, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, okay.
So you accept the premise is wrong on that?
I don't. I mean, it's still not equal the way it is. But yeah, what they're saying.
No, it's not equal the way it is.
By the way,
and
this is what a silly reason to want to restrict voting for. Again, you're restricting voting for 50% of the population. How do you run a democracy where you make the decision that 50% of the population has been struck from voting? You're striking such a high percentage of the population from voting, and the reason why is because they're a woman. Like, oh, they're not able. Like, if you were able to prove that like it was impossible for them to make rational decisions or something like that, then there would be a good societal reason to restrict that. But you can't, because they can make rational decisions. So instead, it has to be an issue about the draft, something that hasn't been used in over 50 years anyway in the first place. And there's an also easier solution of either A, abolishing the draft, or B, including women in the draft. Instead of C, abolishing voting rights for women and making it so our representative democracy is just that much less representative.
Feminists agree.
Yeah,
Feminists agree with you.
Oh, okay. I've never heard him talk about that, but
Do you listen to a lot of feminist ideology? Do you read books? Do you listen to lectures? How do you listen to a lot of that stuff?
So I talk to feminists all the time.
Right. I haven't seen you talk to an actual scholar once. You just talk to kind of random women. Right? I mean, that's fair to say. Right? So when you say you talk to feminists, you just mean like random
It's kind of
women
hard to
off the
watch, I'm
street.
gonna be honest.
Not like a scholar.
That say they're feminists.
Yeah, but but feminism
It doesn't count?
it's like a
It doesn't count.
well, you said you know what feminists believe because you talk to a lot of feminists, but I'm talking about like.
No, I said I've never heard them bring it up. So.
Do you have any interest in talking to feminist scholars who are more aware with like kind of what feminism?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
I think
If you
that
know
would be
anything,
good.
Send them to the UK.
But they're in the UK.
No, I actually tried for some, but then they'll be like, "You're a hateful woman." Da 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 da. There's one that's I can't even remember. Some blonde chick out here. Can't remember her name, but yeah, she didn't want to come on.
Blondes.
No, I'm just saying that was her. That's what she looked like. I don't know her name. I forget.
But like, I mean, my point is like when you just bring a random girl and they say, "Yeah, I'm a feminist," it's kind of like the Steven Crowder "Change My Mind" versus like actually talking to someone who's involved in like the scholastics, the academia of what feminism means historically in modern day and previously. So the level of
The answer to this is simple. Like, now, there's two reasons. Number one, a lot of people like authenticity of like everyday people. There's a reason why I don't like to interview politicians too much is because I want to get more that's the same reason I'm not interviewing like a bunch of like Ukrainian politicians is because I want to focus on like the everyday people. So there's a like a romantic angle to that. There's a value in that. The second reason though, and this is more self-interested reason, and I do think this is a factor, is that it's easier to debate a random person off the street that has zero media training than a studied academic who's going to know every aspect of the topic and possibly does have media training. That's why they're not going to interview.
discourse you would have is obviously different. So feminists are in favor of equality, though. So I don't know if that's interesting you or not. You don't believe me?
I'll take your word.
You can trust me. I'm a man.
Okay.
Okay. So moving on. We're talking about feminism. So what other? So you were talking about divorce court. Sorry, I know you were making a point. So let's go back to that. You were saying that women can decide to terminate a pregnancy, therefore they can choose to be a mom, But men cannot decide that, and they don't get the choice to be the dad.
To not be a dad.
Right. So do you think that, like, do you not think that the idea that the baby, obviously the reason for that, right, which we both know, is that because the baby's inside the woman's body?
Mm-hmm. I don't think that matters. Yeah.
So
I mean, personally, I'm pro-life, so I don't believe in abortion at all. But again, it's the double standard. It's like the women have a choice, but men do not have a choice.
Sure. No, I see that there is a sense to that, which is unfair.
Mm-hmm.
Although there are a lot of single moms, as you pointed out.
Dude, I mean, what the solution to that then would be, men can choose if a woman has a surgery or not. That doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel good. To give men that type of dominion over a woman's body. Lefty Angler, so much for the tier 1 and being sub for 4 months. I appreciate that. Cute little wiggle emoji. I appreciate it. This is the worst part of the debate. Worst part is in this is her worst performance, or worst part is in it's the most boring part. Because, man, I'm ready to pass out.
Yeah, that are on child support, you know. Not all, but, you know.
Well, men have the choice in the sense that they can just wear a condom.
Right.
If they don't want to be a father.
Yeah, right. But women have the choice to go on birth control.
Okay.
Women have the choice
ultimately,
to take a Plan B. Women have the choice to get an abortion. Women have the choice to, you know, take the morning after pill. Women have the choice. You've like IUD. There's a million pills.
Right, but those will have to do with pregnancy. But I'm saying, if a man
women also can require men to put on condoms or not put on condoms.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Women can also require that the men that they sleep with wear condoms.
Right, but if it's inherent, if it's inherently unfair to men, the easy solution is just it kills all this discussion is men just put on condoms when they have sex. Therefore, that.
Well, you can also say women close your legs, like.
Yeah, but you're the one saying that it's unfair for men. That's my point. You're saying men don't have a choice.
I'm saying women have like 10 choices. The men have.
But that's just biology.
The men have condom or no condom, which again is a choice that both of them make, because the women can require that the men wear condoms too.
Right.
But you're only putting that on the men.
But it's in the men. I'm just saying.
Once the baby is conceived, right?
Yeah.
Then the man has no choice, where the woman has a choice.
Okay, so let's just talk about that then, because so it's your opinion that if a woman is pregnant, the man should be able to decide for her to have an abortion.
I'm pro-life, so I would ban it altogether. My point is the double standard, where a man is legally obligated to pay child support and will go to jail if he doesn't, but the woman has the choice to not be a mother through abortion.
I know you're against abortion, but I just want to know what you mean. So let's just say we're trying to make it equal for men. So should men be able to decide for women to have an abortion if she's pregnant?
I think that men should be able to sign off on child support.
Okay, so if they say, hey, I don't want anything to do with this baby.
Yeah.
Then the woman can decide to have it, but the father will have no obligations.
Yes.
And you think that's better for society?
No, I think that's equal. That's more fair.
Okay, so you're more interested in fairness than the welfare of society as a whole?
No, if it was up to me, if we wanted to go, it's good for society. I don't think abortion should be legal.
No, I know. We're having.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying if you want to make it.
Sorry, man, but if the idea that if you ban abortion, that's what's going to be best for society, I have seen no data to bear that out. That's going to lead to like lower crime rates, or that's going to lead to like a more productive society or a better society. I haven't seen that at all. If anything, I would imagine that there's a lot of parents who can't support kids getting abortions, who would then be stopped from getting abortion. Or either A, not going to get an abortion and likely have a child that they can't support, or B, get an abortion anyway, do it in some back alley clinic, and then put the life of the mother at more risk than they already were at.
Fair. Like, I don't think that's fair that the woman, after she gets pregnant, so they both make the irresponsible decision, right? Because you'd agree it's irresponsible if it's an unplanned pregnancy that the woman, you know, had sex with a guy without protection, right? We'd agree? Yes?
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
Okay. So you would agree that's equally irresponsible when it first happens.
Although I guess by your logic, it would be more irresponsible for the man because he has less choices. But yeah, they're both doing something irresponsible.
Well, but yeah, they're both irresponsible. So my point is, after that happens, women have the choice to not be a mother, but men don't have the choice not to be a father. At least, if they don't pay child support, they can go to jail.
Right, because that's for the benefit of the children, which is what's the most important thing.
Yeah, but is it for the benefit of the kid to kill him? Like,
say what?
Dude, it's not for the benefit of the kid. Like the woman.
I never found this argument particularly convincing, because I can understand if we're talking like 6-7 months in, right? I think we're talking about something that's much more malleably or like much more comparable to a human being. But if we're talking like a few weeks in, we're talking like a zygote, right? We're talking very early development. We're talking about a clump of cells. People could say that's alive, but it's alive in the same way like a blade of grass is alive. Like, it's alive, but it's not experiencing the human experience. It doesn't understand pain, doesn't understand like communicated speech. It can't remember anything. It doesn't even have the brain of a goldfish. It just can't remember anything. Like, to call that a human experience is a lie. To say that that life is of the same value, more value, or as a human life is just coping. It is unbelievable cope.
Women can make.
Wait, what do you mean to kill who?
I mean, I'm pro-life, so again,
abort the baby.
So so if we're gonna go for the benefit of the kid, like if your argument is let's do what's best for the benefit of the kid, the benefit of the kid is not killing the child.
Is
right. I mean, and for me, like I believe it's a kid, right? You might not.
Oh, what's that have to do with the fairness to the man? I don't understand that.
You don't understand. It's not fair, again, that men have the choice, that men do not have the choice.
I understand
to not
what you're saying, but
women, yeah. But
then, okay, whatever. We're arguing in circles a little bit. Let's talk about abortion then, since you're against abortion. I'm assuming your stance is abortion should be off the table in any situation.
Yes.
So if a dad rapes his daughter, then she needs to give birth to that baby.
You know, that's less than 1% of cases. Why do you guys always
No, but that's important, Pearl. Because if you're going to have a conversation about difficult things, let's talk about the difficult things. This is why the laws exist. The laws exist to protect that little girl.
I'm saying let's talk about the most common thing.
That's
first.
easy.
And
That's easy.
But I'm saying
that's not what's difficult about this.
But I'm saying we can get to the difficult things.
Like freedom of expression. It's very easy to say that somebody who likes pie and like popcorn be able to speak. It's not very easy to say that somebody likes one of the most disgusting views around should be able to speak. I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but you get what I'm saying. Like, yeah, it's the edge cases that'll really test your values.
Later, but it's like, why do you guys bring
because
up the
that's
most
the interesting part. I'm telling you, the law is there to protect on those fringe cases.
I'm saying,
I'm telling you why.
Why don't we start with the majority of
Didn't
abortion?
we just do that?
You think, okay.
What do you want to say? You don't agree with abortion. So like if a men and women have sex and they're both being irresponsible, then sure, I understand. You say abortion's bad because we don't want to murder babies. That's not controversial. That's easy to understand. The point of these laws is to protect the little girl who's raped by her dad. These are the challenging issues. So this is why I ask you about it, because this is the byproduct of your position of no abortions are allowed under any circumstance. So if you're willing to take that position, you can't just dismiss this because you are saying that this girl who's raped by her dad should have the baby.
I just think we spend a lot of time. I just think hold on. I just think we spend a lot of time arguing about fringe cases that are less than like 0.5%.
Those are the important cases. That's why
I don't think those are as important as the 99.5% of cases. And so sometimes I think it's a bit disingenuous to say, here's this extreme fringe case that happened. And I don't think you don't make a law for the exception.
Yes,
like
you do.
You don't make laws. The general law is not for the exception. It's for the rule. Like why
That's
would
not an exception. Why is that an exception? Or I mean, exceptions are important to the law. Okay. That's the whole point.
Wait, do you not think it's an exception? Like a 13-year-old girl getting raped by her. I don't know what you can say on YouTube.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. I don't think raped is gonna.
Oh, we stay
trick the
away because it
bots.
gets us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But do you not think that's an exception?
And by exception, but
It's
well,
not
she was
common.
raped. What do you mean by exception?
Right. Like, do you think it's common?
No, of course it's not common.
Okay. That's my point. Like, we waste.
Do you think that it's less
so much
important?
time.
Do you think it's less important because it's not
I think
as
it's
common?
more. I think it's more important to talk about the 99.5% of abortions.
That's easy. That's an easy conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I get your position there.
Yeah.
But but listen, you can write. Pearl, you can write exceptions into laws. That's why they exist. Because why should that girl who's raped by her dad forced to give birth to that baby because you didn't want to have a conversation about her?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would still make it illegal, to be honest. Because again, I think you either think it's a life or you don't. So if you think it's a child, you're never gonna encourage killing a child under any exceptions. So
right. Right.
That's where you're wrong. That's how you know she's never met a child.
And that's, I guess, where the big difference comes between abortion.
Haven't got Legos off the floor. Like never met a real child.
People who are for and against abortion is that we disagree on where life begins, essentially.
Right.
But ultimately, what quality of life do you expect this child to have from like a 13-year-old girl who's raped by her dad?
Mm-hmm. Is a lower quality life less valuable? Like, that's almost saying if you are in a bad situation, your life is less valuable than someone who isn't. And that's kind of a tricky argument.
I think I'm perfectly willing to say that my life is more valuable than a zygote, than two literal cells that are having no impact on the world.
Not less valuable, but I mean,
but one should be aborted, one shouldn't. So one should be in society, one shouldn't be in society. I would say that's less valuable.
Well,
it's more about you were talking.
Okay, I'm done, boys. I can't listen to this woman anymore. You guys gotta understand. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't listen to her. She's making my ears bleed. Done. I'm done. Can't do it. Berating rhizome. She's just like, there's nothing. She's saying the same things over and over and over and over and over again, and it's not intellectually stimulating at all. Actually, the worst. You didn't get to hear her defend slavery. Ugh, fine, cancel. Fine. We'll block for. We'll go forward and let's do it quick, and then we'll be done. Okay.
There, who talks about the history of slavery? So.
Okay. But do you agree with that premise that slavery was embellished, or no?
I think that there are parts that are under embellished and there are parts that are over embellished. I think it just depends what we're talking about.
That's so interesting. I've got to know what was over embellished about slavery. Just like one example, I'm dying to know.
Yeah, I just rather, I mean, I was talking about a book that I read, and I think to understand the context, you'd have to read the book.
But you just said some parts were embellished, some parts were under embellished.
I just, again.
Are you retracting that?
I'd really just rather
can't defend her own takes in public.
Okay.
Ooh, pretty beta.
No, but slavery being embellished, that's so interesting. I don't know how you embellish it.
There are certain facts that we're not allowed to talk about.
Like what? I would love to. We're doing the taboo. We're mixing it up. It's red pill, baby. Let's see the world as it is.
Taboo topics.
I genuinely want to know how it was embellished.
Yeah.
What can't we talk about? Come on.
Oh, this hurts.
I mean, I could show you the video I was quoting, but it's just, I'd rather not get into this, so.
Sounds like a blue pilled attitude to me.
Damn.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping this was like a good faith interview.
Wait, what's bad faith? I'm literally showing you clips of you saying stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. What about this interview has been bad faith?
I just think you're kind of trying to push an agenda. And you're not.
Hold.
Yeah, I just think you're
Hey, you said these things. Oh, you're asking me about the things I said that were really stupid. I said them in public. It's an agenda. It's the make me acknowledge my stupid ass comments agenda.
That's a clip of you saying that. You can disavow it. That'd be super easy to say I was wrong.
Interview where I'm quoting somebody. Like if you watch the full interview, I am quoting somebody, and now you're trying to pin me down about a topic that I don't dive into.
Hold on.
So it's like,
hold on,
that's not the point of my channel.
Okay, so
the point of my channel isn't.
I know, but you said it. How is that bad faith? Hold on, let me see.
Okay, because I was talking about how the founder of the Thomas Sowell talks about how the guy that made Roots talked about how it was a myth for his people to live by.
Okay.
That's what the guy who made Roots said, Alex Haley.
Okay.
So, and I can't even talk about that on a podcast without being canceled by the internet.
Yeah, but mythology, you know, myth doesn't necessarily mean it's a lie, right? Just because mythology is like a culture,
right, but
a history.
I'm saying that doesn't mean the way it's depicted in the movie was how it actually happened. And that's what he was talking about on the book. But again, I was quoting a book, and you're trying to like pin me down on quoting a book.
Let me watch this again and see if I'm doing that.
Stuff too, because that's literally the founder of, or the guy who made Roots said I wanted a myth for my people to live by.
Yeah.
So they often, but that's what they do. Is
She was talking to Nick Fuentes too. I'm sorry, dude.
So then you say, but here's what they do.
And I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible.
I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible.
Right, but they want to make it like more horrible.
But they want to make it more horrible.
That they can control people.
So that they can control people.
Right, but
Nick Fuentes agrees, by the way.
Wait, oh my gosh. 5 minutes before I say Sowell talks about this in his book. So I'm communicating in the interview that I'm quoting an author.
You're not being honest. You say they do this to. Okay, so you disavow. Just disavow it then. That's easy. Just say I don't think slavery was embellished. I mean, that's super easy. That's like a layup. Do you agree? You know what I mean? It's like just say you don't think slavery was embellished.
I think there are certain facts that you're not allowed to talk about. I don't really want to talk about it today.
But that Roots was what is a myth?
Again, there are certain facts you're not allowed to talk about. And I don't really feel like getting into it.
She just looks like a coward. I mean, like, if you don't say it if you don't believe it. And like, she could be like, look, I said it at the time. I was wrong, you know. But no, she wants to stand by the take, but she also doesn't want to defend her opinions.
Today.
Thomas Sowell compared Barack Obama to Adolf Hitler. Do you like that analogy? That's the author you're quoting.
Okay, I'm done. I don't want to watch this anymore. I'm done. That was worthless. What a terrible conversation. She just contributed. I don't know why is she popular? What did she do? What did she contribute? Like nothing. She contributed nothing. Oh my god. You're 5 seconds to the I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I'm done. I don't care.